What did you try and found out it's not for you?
Being a teacher. I love the teaching. I hate being a teacher. Edit, the funny thing is that I'm still teaching. Will be changing after this school year is done. Do I know what to? Not really, but I shiver at the thought of another 30 years to go. Edit 2. I've seen tons of questions and I'll put it this way without going too deep. It's not you, it's me. I need to work on me right now.
Maybe it's the audience? Adult education might be worth a try.
I teach university and it's an entirely different animal. Much less stress since I don't deal with parents, and students don't have to be there. I don't even require attendance. But this semester there is a huge issue with regression in development. I'm teaching 18-year-olds who seem like 16-year-olds, and that's a big difference. It's a really hard term for many of us.
Being a crime scene investigator. I have a bachelor's degree in forensics. I got hired in my dream position at 23, just 2 years after I graduated. This was Plan A, the dream I had been working towards since I decided to go into forensics when I was 16. Then I quit after just 3.5 months. I wasn't prepared for how intense crime scenes are. One of my supervisors had once told me that we aren't called because someone is having a good day. And she was absolutely right. There are so many players, and so many moving parts. I was overwhelmed with what I was expected to know and remember. I could have gotten over that aspect, but the emotional and mental intensity of a scene would paralyze me. Most death investigation crime scenes we were called to were suicides, homicides, and drug overdoses. Almost never had someone died peacefully surrounded by people they loved. It was always violent and lonely. I had a tendency to think about a person's last moments that led up to why we were there, and I would be overcome with emotion. I had panic attacks at multiple scenes. I would always get the work done, but it took such a toll. One day at a burglary scene, I broke down and told my trainer that I don't think I could do this job. She took over the scene while I went to the van and cried on the phone to my mom. I quit the next week. I finished up any open cases I had and threw in the towel. I couldn't do it. It took a long time for me to be okay with that decision. I knew if I stayed the job it would have killed me. I was praised for realizing early on that this wasn't the job for me and getting out, but I felt like such a failure. I also felt the degree I got from university was now useless, and that I had wasted thousands of dollars for nothing. I'm very lucky to have a support system who love me and care for me. I wouldn't have made it through this decision without them. It would have eaten me alive. I'm about 1.5 years removed from when I quit, and I still sometimes struggle. I'm in a new position now where I work closely with the crime scene investigators I work with, and I'm much happier. Edit, the bit that reads, almost never had someone died peacefully surrounded by people they loved. It was always violent and lonely, was added for context and perspective for the reader. I knew I wasn't going to see peaceful deaths. And never once did I say that's what I expected.
Working in a daycare made me realize I love my kids, not all kids.
As a teacher of middle schoolers, I love my age group. Early on in my career I taught first grade. It was sweet and adorable and full of hugs and love, but first graders always need you and it's exhausting. Middle schoolers, you can let them work for 20 minutes while you grade papers and only occasionally glance up and they are fine, after the first few weeks when you are setting routines and boundaries. It's so much less stress teaching 12-year-olds instead of 6-year-olds. You just need a high tolerance for adolescent body odor and stupid slang words that make no sense. Bet.
Being a cop. Not the right personality for it. Went back to being a medic. Agreed. This was a max security jail, but still a majority had very little ability to critically think or plan ahead. Playing chess with them is hilarious. They play each other and all think they're great, but they just snatch the first piece they can every time, so if you know anything about the game it's way too easy to win. No strategy or thinking multiple plays ahead. The thing I always told new hires is not to underestimate them, but that really smart criminals weren't dumb enough to end up there in the first place.
Let me start by saying I was not a retiring or passive cop. But I was a talker. I'm not big on physicality as an immediate tool, unless of course, someone's well-being is at risk. When I was a cop, 1990 to 1994, de-escalation was not a thing, and would not be so for about another 15 years. If you didn't take fairly immediate control of a suspect's actions physically, you were considered a liability. I believed you accomplished more with honey than vinegar. Maybe now would have been my time, but my time for that career is long gone.
I tried meth twice. And it was the same both times. I felt more alert kinda, I could concentrate on things better, but I didn't feel anything else really. I felt my personality was a little more cold and I didn't care too much about anything. I didn't get the euphoria and anything that made me want to do it again. I just don't get it why people like it so much. I do benefit from ADHD medicine, so I'm thinking it's that. But yeah. Through thank you.
I feel this one. Spent 5 years doing office work and didn't realize just how much it was taking little pieces of myself in that role. It wasn't hard, but was unappreciated and had no real direction. The team completed stuff and somehow I was supposed to feel fulfilled without having any part in the achievement. Instead, I went to electrical lineman school. It was hard on my body, but I managed to stick it out. Graduated and took a groundman position doing real line work. So far, as a career, it's been fulfilling to have a hand making modern living possible. Way more satisfying, but I seriously need to take stock in Motrin.
Me and warehousing. We loaded X amount of trucks this week, a new record good for us. We broke records almost every week and never got raises or anything. Now I work for a nonprofit as a maintenance man for group homes for people with severe and persistent mental illnesses. I feel appreciated, and when I go to these homes I can look around and know I've made a place where people who struggle to keep their homes livable, better. In one case I completely redid a client's room. We tore up the floor and repainted everything and got them new furniture, and after that the client improved dramatically. I directly helped and improved someone's life, and the normal staff helped keep them from backsliding to where they were when they came to us. Compare that to loading trucks for corporate overlords and there's no contest. I'm still not getting pay raises though.
I tried a sensory deprivation tank because I thought it would be therapeutic, etc., and it devolved into a panic attack. I really tried to ride it out, but 15 minutes and I crawled out crying and shivering. Apparently some of us need to feel connected to our senses to feel real. Also the salt burned the shit out of my scalp. Wear a swimming cap if you're gonna try it.
Your story reminds me of the time I was having an MRI done on my back. If you've seen an MRI machine, it's basically like a thick donut-shaped thing that goes back really deep. Like, if you need your knee MRI'd, just your legs would be in the machine and most of your body would be out, but since it was my back, they had to slide me all the way in. I had never done one before, and before they slid me in there, the nurse hands me a thing to squeeze in case I need help. I literally laughed and was like, what could go wrong, haha. Right before they slid me in, I asked how long it would take and the doctor said about 45 minutes. WTF? After it started, I swear it felt like a coffin and it started to get warm and make crazy loud sounds. I couldn't turn my head or body, and when I opened my eyes the thing was like 2 inches from my face. I didn't last 2 minutes and started squeezing the emergency thing like crazy. Nope, get me out of here, sorry. After they let me out, I was like sorry I wasn't ready. Let me try again. The second go-around was even shorter than the first and I noped out of there. So basically, I didn't have a much-needed MRI done that day because of claustrophobia that I never knew I had. I told the doctor that had booked the MRI originally that I couldn't do it and she convinced me to try one more time on another day and prescribed Valium for that day. I was skeptical, but the time I tried, the Valium worked so well that it felt like I was in a cocoon of wonderfulness and the 45 minutes somehow flew by and I didn't want to get out of the machine when it was over.
Casual hookups. A committed relationship is far less stressful and more satisfying. Edit. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. I wasn't expecting this to blow up. I guess I should elaborate further, but I think quite a few of you already have a solid idea as to why. I've got no issue with people that do find satisfaction from casual sex. For some it can even be liberating. Different strokes for different folks. But our society puts casual sex on a pedestal while also being contradictory and shaming the people who do frequently engage in it. It is what it is. Personally engaging in the perpetual chase for finding partners that I will only meet for a few-hour romp and then have minimal or no contact at all results in lots of stress and mediocre sex. As an introvert, I found that it was far more satisfying to have a committed partner that knows me and whom I can get to know over time. Not having the specter of needing to perform well also makes the activity more relaxing. And I see you demi-folk in comments here. Although I don't identify as such, I am dating a demi-woman. We are both in our 30s and she has taught me a lot about non-sexual intimacy after nearly lifetime of mixed contradictory messages.
Scuba. I love the water. I've been swimming since I was a tot. But the part of my brain that says breath said no when I was underwater for any more than 10 minutes. I went out to do my qualification dive, made the swim to the buoy, and on the return trip I left the water and informed my instructor. He was there with another couple for their second checkout dive and so finished with them and we all went home. I wish I could have done it. He even told me I had a year to come back and try it again. I drove by his storefront every day on the way to and from work and was never once tempted to stop in.
The contraceptive implant. I was very naive when I got this one and believed that I would probably not be in the category of those that ended up with the forever period. Sadly, I was wrong, and I bled every damn day from the first few weeks in until about 9 months later, just over 6 months after starting to date my current partner, poor sod, when I had it removed and switched to the combined pill. Never looked back. That being said, this should not be used to dissuade people from trying different methods of birth control if they feel up to it. But definitely research the effects and take some time to decide what's right for you.
A gay relationship. Always been kind of attracted to men, so went out on a couple dates with men that were so-so. Finally hit it off with a guy, tried sexual stuff and I was immediately not into it. Turns out I like looking at good-looking men and it stops there. It was weird.
I feel that, LOL. Made out with a guy while I was drunk once and was like, yeah, maybe I could do this. Feels like lips. And then he started to reach down my pants and I flipped. Immediately the lid on that idea shut and I am now 101% straight. Can say so with absolute confidence. I'm straighter than a guy who's never kissed a dude, because I know I'm not into it, LMAO. Edit. Wow, okay, this got a lot more attention than I thought it would. Also, the thing some people get so up in arms over is hilarious face with tears of joy never change Reddit.
Nightclubs. Grew up in a super religious house, so I wasn't allowed to go. Then I moved out and found them super boring and overwhelming. You can't actually have a conversation, people seem to be acting to look cool and get laid, and it can get super expensive.
The army life. I joined all excited thinking it would be a lifelong career, and by the time my first enlistment was up I had learned that I really don't like being told what to do. And no matter what your rank, there's always someone there to tell you what to do. I did my time with a smile, and more than 20 years later I still have some great friends, but I have never regretted picking up my DD-214 and never looking back.
Programming. Took a class in college. Prof said just play around like it's a puzzle. It's so exciting to see it when it works. Nope. Not exciting. Sitting at a computer all day was boring AF. Glad others are willing to do it.
Twitch streaming. Turns out I'd much rather just relax and play and do things at my own pace. Instead, I started making montages on YouTube.
I found that having a relationship, having sex, and potentially creating a family just wasn't for me. I have no interest in any of it. My closest family members don't understand me though. But thankfully they still accept me. I truly enjoy my life the way it is. It's just a little awkward at the family cookouts.
Being active on social media. I prefer to keep to myself and not share my life online. Edit, to the people saying, but Reddit is social media. I get it, smarty pants. Call it whatever you want. When I say social media, I'm mainly talking about Facebook and Instagram. The platforms where you use your real name and you're surrounded by people you actually know.
Small talk with strangers.
Xanax thought it would be chill or fun. Evening at home, figured I could sleep it off if it wasn't for me. Took 1 bar. Didn't feel much coming on for a while. Remember losing feelings of regular joint pains, thinking, hey, this is pretty nice actually. That's all I remember of that entire evening. Never had anything affect me like that. It was like I roofied myself, lol. Next morning mood was fluctuating like crazy. Destroyed laptop because I was frustrated by online community college test. Laptop wasn't worth much, but acting out of anger and breaking something like that was well out of my character. Insanely horrible depression all day for no reason. Go to check for the rest of the bars that evening and they're gone. Ask my GF what happened, did she move them? She said no, you took them last night. I was so much in disbelief I dug by hand through 2 full-sized bags of trash looking for baggie. Found it. Empty. Called my good friend, told him what is going on. He says, why you called me last night and said you liked them and took the rest. Standing there still in disbelief. I had no memory of ever making that call. I had no memory of anything after sitting down and feeling slightly warm and comfortable. I have no idea how the night ended or anything in between. Nothing I've ever done on purpose or otherwise besides that had ever made me act without remembering what I had done at all. Haven't done it since and don't know why anyone would aside from acute panic attacks or similar.
Water polo, when I was a student at Ball State University around 30 years ago. It's not just a little light swimming. I thought I was going to drown about 2 minutes into the experience. Got out of the pool and never looked back.